When the bat's away, the cat will play. This is your look at the new Mondo Batman the Animated Series Catwoman 1/6 scale figure, the Mondo exclusive. Based on the seminal Batman the Animated Series, the Catwoman 1/6 scale figure stays true to the animated classic, sculpted to match the iconic style of the show with a paint scheme evoking the bold, graphic look of an animation cell. It was designed by Joe Allard, sculpted by Ramirez Studios, and painted by Jason Wires Productions. The figure features packaging designed by Brent Ash with art by Phantom City Creative. Catwoman comes fully equipped to slink into your collection and maybe take something from it as well. Before we get a closer look at this feline femme fatale, the first thing we're going to do is figure out how tall Catwoman stands. As I take this to the very top of her head and stopping my tape measure right there, I'd also like to send out a big thank you to the folks over at Mondo who provided this sample of Catwoman that we're having a look at in this video. The figure stands 11.9 inches in height. Now, how does that translate to centimeters? Let me go ahead and do that for you. You're looking at a figure standing 30.5, or 30.4 if I want to be exact. Now, sadly, I can't locate where I put the Batman, a figure that I had looked at previously, also released from the Mondo Batman the Animated Series line. However, for some size comparisons, one figure I do still have quite accessible is the Mondo Mr. Freeze. We'll just bring him in to give you an idea of how these, and I guess it would be fitting to put the two here side to side as a comparison, as they are both rogues in Batman's gallery. Catwoman notably is a lot smaller and a smaller build than the bigger, bulkier, more mechanized Mr. Freeze, but it does give you an idea of how these figures stack up with one another. And as you can see as well, there's a lot of interesting paint applications that they've added to Catwoman that they also already previously added to Mr. Freeze. First thing we'll do is check out the display stand that comes included with the figure, and a rather familiar Batman logo is presented to us. It so happens to also be the same display stand that came with Mr. Freeze, and the same display stand that also came included with Bats as well. It basically is composed of two pieces. You can see the main Bat logo right here. That's what it looks like on the back. And then, of course, there's that little slot, very concealed right at the top area of Batman's head, or at least the logo head. You're then going to take the neck, just plug this into place, and you've got yourself a nice adjustable neck with a cradle support for her legs. All you then have to do is take the figure, put it on top of the display stand like so, and you've got yourself an instant display of Catwoman. The downside, though, is because she's a little bit smaller of a frame, it means that little cradle support is much bigger on the figure, and it stands out a little bit more. Now, to be fair, they could have also made this a smaller cradle support, but I don't expect them to start changing this out. If they already have this stand available, I'm just happy to see that we actually even get ourselves a stand with the Catwoman figure. Now, I'm not going to be nitpicking the fact that the cradle appears a little too big for this figure, because after all, it's just the same display stand that we got already with the Batman, and then we already got also with the Mr. Freeze. One thing that's worth noting when it comes to the Batman Animated Series figures from Mondo is that they're known for having a lot of accessories, and Catwoman here is no exception. Now, the version of this figure that we're going to be looking at, thanks to Mondo, is the Mondo exclusive, which grants this figure 2 extra accessories that aren't going to be found on the standard release. Let's have a look at those right now. The first one, and I really like this one, they do come included, at least for the Mondo exclusive, a lounging version of her cat, Isis. Now, if you do get the standard release, essentially you're still getting yourself Isis, but what you're getting is you're getting a sitting version of the cat. Now, I still like the sitting version of Isis myself. I think it's a nice designed looking cat. just to give you a closer look, it doesn't look like the faces change all that much. The paint also stays the same, and they're all making use of the same black plastic with very little additional paint added to it, adding and keeping to the realism of these cats, looking at least from the Batman animated series. I mean, I do like the lounging version of Isis. Might be something I may display with the Selina Kyle unmasked portrait, which happens to be a perfect then segue to the other exclusive that's only released with this version of the figure. Catwoman normally comes with 3 alternate head sculpts. However, if you do get yourself the Mondo exclusive, you also get yourself a Selina Kyle portrait, which as you can see has her unmasked. There is one area where I think the black hasn't lined properly up to the sculpt. You can see that there on this one eyebrow on the one side. Other than that, though, the paint's really quite clean on this, other than I've got a little scuff just at the bottom of her hair. It's a bit disappointing. But overall, a good, solid head sculpt. Not really sure if I would end up displaying Catwoman with the Selina Kyle portrait myself. I'd probably still resort to displaying her with the masks myself. But I do like and appreciate the fact that Mondo gives you the choices available. And they've done this across the board, whether it be the Batman animated series figures, whether it be the Masters of the Universe figures. There's always alternate head sculpts and a ton of accessories that come included with them. Again, I really do like the way that this one looked. Will I display it with this version of the head sculpt? Probably not, because I think the other head sculpts just read a little bit more for me like Catwoman. Unless I was to pick up another one of these, then, of course, there is always the possibility that I would display it with this head sculpt instead. Just one last look at the figure's head sculpt. Again, other than that one area right there, you can see it more so when the light hits it, where the eyebrow paint isn't quite lined up to the sculpting on the face. An all-around solid-looking head sculpt, and exclusive if you get this version of Catwoman. Running through the rest of Selina's accessories, she comes included with a little spy camera. The spy camera, for the most part, is just painted in gray, a lighter gray on the top and on the bottom, with a more blue-based gray, sort of making appearances all around the sides, with, as you can see, the front section painted in black. Again, I'm probably not going to be displaying it, but I do appreciate the fact that when these companies throw all these extra, a lot of times with especially Mondo, they throw in episode-specific accessories, which I don't see as much here on Catwoman as I've seen in other instances like Mr. Freeze and Batman, but still lots of stuff that comes included with her. She comes also included with a diamond necklace, which technically you could fit around her neck if you wanted to. It just would be involving taking the head sculpt off the neck and then just fitting this necklace, which I might just say is also a soft plastic. I do like the paintwork that they added to the individual stones of diamonds down below there. And I'm guessing this is a pearl necklace. Like I said, it's made of a very soft plastic. If you prefer your diamonds just to be all on their own, she does also come included with a single stone. I'm not one that specializes in jewelry or stones, and I couldn't even tell you what carat this would be, but I probably could say it would fetch quite the pretty penny on the streets of Gotham City. It's been painted, I'm guessing probably it's all gray plastic. They've painted the top, they've painted the sides, and they painted all the areas around the top here, all in white, and then panel lined it in this bluish gray. Really nice. More likely very susceptible to being lost, so I'm just going to very carefully put it to the side and hope it doesn't roll away. She does also come included with a bag of jewels or coins, or I'm guessing it's probably, the way it's described, is a bag of loot. So, I mean, really, you could say it's money, you could say it's jewels. I don't picture her as somebody that's going to be pinching pennies or grabbing dollars. I would imagine, if anything, if she's grabbing a bag of loot, it's likely going to be probably jewels. That's my guess, at least. She does also come included with a pair of bat cuffs. Sadly, the bat cuffs aren't functional, so you can't actually open these. They're just molded plastic. But it's nice that it comes included with the figure. I guess technically you could remove, like, for example, one of her hands, which I would have talked about in a second, but we'll go ahead and talk about this right now. You can go ahead and remove that. You could take one of the bat cuffs. As you can see, it does fit around her arm, but I don't think nearly enough to actually get her arms together. I think it's too close for quarters, and the idea of trying to fit her hand around both of these are probably going to be a little bit more difficult. I don't think I can actually stretch those across. So she comes with a pair of bat cuffs. Not the most pliable, of course. And yes, I know I just left her hand off for the time being. We'll go back to that in a second as we have a look at the rest of the accessories that come included with the figure. She does also come with a couple of whips. One is a fully coiled whip, so this doesn't open up. And then she also has one flexible whip, one fully extended. Again, this one is made of softer plastic. This one, the coiled whip, doesn't really have a place to put on the figure. She doesn't have a hook or anything on her outfit. So again, it's just something that she can hold in her hand. Or if you prefer your whip more of the stretched out, relaxed variety, probably going to be seeing myself displaying her with this whip, I think, instead. The figure also comes with a series of interchangeable hands. I've already gone ahead and taken the liberty of removing the fist. You saw me do it. And each one of the hands, luckily, all come with their own unique peg, with their own exclusive peg. So you don't have to worry about having these stay with the fist. Literally every single hand comes with its own peg. I do like companies that do that. One thing I also really like about the hands is that they give two versions for these hands. Like, for example, she does come with a pair of gripping hands, but she does also come with hands that have claws, for example. You can see right here. Now, the thing about it is the hands are different. The ones that are designed to grip and hold on to things are ones that actually don't have the claws extended. These ones here, for example, are more suited for clawing Batman. And she comes with two varieties of that. More of a relaxed palm, a little bit wider on the fingers, and then she has the more closed together fingers. And these ones, like I said, are the ones that come included with the claws painted on the ends, done in a dark goldish yellow. The other hands that she comes included with, she does technically also come with a pair of relaxed hands, and just to kind of give you a comparison between the two, it looks like they are very similar in design. One, of course, is, like I said, just not painted with the claws extended. The other one is. All the things that they've also included with these, or at least most of them, is they also have the continuation stripe that we'll be talking about when we have a look at the figure. I do like the fact that they do include these, so this is just more so. The way that the cartoon has the character designed, she's got the little reflection on the side of her gloves, and I do like the fact that the gloves also carry over that as well. If you do want to change out any one of the hands, I've already sort of started it on this one side. Let's go ahead and add the grabbing hands suited for holding her whip. So we'll just go ahead, this peg sort of just fits into the hole. You already know how this works. And a lot of times this peg will just shift around. I find it's always easier to kind of pinch the sides. And then as you're pinching the sides, wiggle it back and forth. Pop that in place. If you want to do that on the other side, same thing. Just grab the hand. And you want to grab it really from here rather than here. When I have grabbed it from here, I found it left the peg and it separated it in half. So if you grab it actually where the peg is, just wiggle it and then pop it right off. It's a somewhat unsettling snap sound that you hear, but that just pops right out. Then take the other hand that you want to use. I'm going to use the other gripping hand for this purpose, and just wiggle that back in place. Again, holding it here so this doesn't shift back and forth, and then just wiggle this, pop it back into the hole, just like so. It's a lot easier, I find, to put the hands in than it is to remove them, because the whole time I'm removing them, I keep hearing that little snap sound. I feel like I've broken something when that's not actually the case. So those are all the accessories that come included with the figure. Of course, I've left off for this purpose right now. I've left off the interchangeable heads. We'll just get the figure to stand properly. Let's get her legs to straighten out here. There we go. Just put her down right there. And let's have a look at the other alternate head sculpts that come included with this figure. The regular version of Catwoman comes included with 3 alternate head sculpts. As I said, the Mondo exclusive will come included with the Selina Kyle portrait. But if you do get the regular release, you're treated to essentially 3 heads. The 2 that I currently have in my hand, and of course the one that's located on the back of the figure right now. This is technically the one that came out of the packaging as defaulted, and I just swapped it out with the one I thought was the better of the 3. This is what you would consider the regular portrait. This one is what you would consider the sneering portrait. And the one that's currently on the figure, which we'll pick up right now, is considered the smirking portrait. And as I just put the figure down, actually, let me just grab the head sculpt here on one side, grab the head sculpt on the other side, so you can see the difference between the three figures. Again, personally, I kind of like the one in the middle. And when it's all said and done, I'm probably going to settle on the one that's in the middle because I just think it's the prettiest of the head sculpts, not including, of course, the Selina Kyle. If you do want to change the head sculpts, though, just put this one down for the time being. Grab the figure, just grab onto the head here and wiggle it off. It's already happened to me once. Luckily, it hasn't happened to me this time. One of the head sculpts, I noticed the inner cavity popped off and stayed on the ball joint. All I just had to do was pop that off, fit that back into the head socket, and it was perfectly fine. But then if you go ahead and grab, say, the sneering one, you'll see there's the ball joint socket. There's the ball joint. You just wiggle this in place. I do find that they're easy head sculpts. Sometimes with ball joints, head sculpts can be difficult to change out, to remove and replace. But I found with the case of Catwoman, it wasn't the issue at all. One last time, showing you the other head sculpts here. Just grab the kind of difficult to hold all three, but you can see there's the three different head sculpts. Again, I kind of like this one, I think, as my personal favorite. But we'll keep the sneering one on for the time being, because I don't think it's going to get much mileage, much display time, I think, once this video is finished up. As for the head sculpt, though, whatever head sculpt you decide to go with, faithfully recreates the way Catwoman looks in the original Batman animated series before she switches over to all black for the new Batman Adventures. Even though I was a bigger fan of the black costume, I think more for traditional, if we only are going to be getting ourselves one Catwoman, I'm glad that they actually settled on this one. It's not to say that Mondo isn't going to then eventually, down the road, give us a new Batman Adventures Catwoman. I mean, there's a lot more merit, I think, for having this one as the display, especially because there's a lot more detail. They simplified a whole lot of it when it came to the new Batman Adventures Catwoman. I think they even removed the pupils. I feel like she only had white eyes. But this one definitely is a more superior design, I think, for a 6-scale version of Catwoman, especially if you're going to be basing it on the original animated series. You can see there she has the green eyes. No inner pupil, because, again, it's based on the more simplistic animation style of the original Batman animated series. One thing I did talk about, remember I mentioned there's this stripe of reflection that runs down the whole length of her sleeve glove. Well, she actually has a whole lot of additional shadowing here also on her face. You'll see it here on the side of her body, more so in this area of her body, and it runs all the way down. So like the front of the chest is more the darker color, and then she has these highlights sort of right here that run down the shoulder, run down the side of her body. And it's really, I guess, only on the sides of her body that she has the lighter color. And then of the two colors, I'm not even sure if the camera's picking this up or not, but even within the lighter gray area, there's actually, it seems, two different colors of gray, or at least that's what it looks like. It could be just the fact that there's this line that's running right down there, but under certain lit conditions, it almost seems like there's two different colors of gray. I think it's probably just my eyes playing tricks on me. She's head to toe gray with a little bit of color thrown in there. Primarily, it's the belt that she's wearing. A nice bright yellow with these individual orbs of yellow all sort of joined together. This is not a separate piece either, so this has been attached to the body. It's not going to be going anywhere. And as we've already looked at, she does have the reflective stripe of that gray running down the whole length of her sleeve, and in many cases also carrying into the hand as well. And that's also a really nice touch. Let's go ahead and check out Catwoman's articulation. So with her head, it's essentially a dumbbell ball joint. A term I've used in previous reviews essentially just means in between a rod of plastic is a ball joint at the top and a ball joint at the bottom. Kind of looks like a dumbbell. Well, essentially, you've got a dumbbell ball joint where you've got the ball joint at the base of the neck and you've got one along the top there as well. This allows for the head to hinge up and down, rock back and forth, and you can also rotate the head quite comfortably all the way around, whatever head you decide to display her with. As for the arms hinge out at a 90-degree angle bend, something I was surprised I was able to do. I thought because of the way the curve of the shoulder would have limited being able to bring that arm joint out. And while it's a little tighter on this arm than it is on this side, I can still pull off successfully a 90-degree angle bend. You can also bring the arms all the way around. Of course, you can rotate those all the way around. She does have a single hinge in the elbow and the exact same joint system working also in her hand as well. This allows the arm to rotate as well as the hand to rotate back and forth. When you get to her torso, the upper torso is on a ball joint, and there's also a secondary ball joint working right there. I mean, when you look at it, the belt conceals it in such a way that I would have thought that this was all one piece. And in actual fact, you can see there's the line right there. That she has a secondary ball joint that allows the torso to move up and down. Not as freely, mind you, here as you can up at the top, but she still has a ball joint working there where you can move and shift that around. The legs split out, and as I split these out, I'm not sure if you can hear this or not, if it allows me to stop talking for the second. Can you hear that? It sounds like there's actually a ratcheted joint working in there. One good thing about that is it's probably going to prolong how long these legs are going to stay stiff and not get loose. Because of that, also the legs move forward and back. You get that nice, good, solid splits for Catwoman. She has a single hinge on the knee, rotates the lower leg, and then she also has that same joint system. So basically, everywhere there's an articulation point, except for basically the ball joints for here, for example. But like the elbows, the wrists, the knees, and the ankles all work and use the exact same joint system. The knees bend back and forth. You can rotate those and do the exact same thing with the feet as well. The only thing about this particular figure, being primarily because she is a female build, she has smaller limbs. She has smaller feet. So it's a little bit more difficult to actually get her standing. It's not to say that she has difficulty. Well, I guess it does mean that she has difficulty standing. But if you get her firmly planted on her feet, and you flatten those feet out when you've got her on a display shelf, you should be okay. If I get her to just flatten her feet for a second, and we could just bring her hips around. There we go. If you get her firmly planted on her feet, you shouldn't have any problem. In comparison, say, to the Mr. Freeze that we already had a look at before, because the male figures are bigger build characters and because they also have broader feet, they have a little more stability, I find, standing straight up. Catwoman, again, if you just get her feet properly planted on whatever surface you got her on, you shouldn't have the figure falling over. If you do feel like the figure is going to be falling over on you, by all means, make use of the display stand. That's, after all, why Mondo includes it. Because you can get them in more dynamic poses, but then also to ensure that these figures, being of course taller than some of the figures you may have grown up with for Batman animated series, but it also guarantees that those figures aren't going to be falling over when you put them on a shelf. I do like the way that the Mondo Batman animated series Catwoman turned out. Common practice, it seems, when it comes to the Mondo releases. When you do open up these boxes, you'll be blown away by the amount of accessories, not to mention swappable heads, that these figures come included with. Not only based on the animated series, but keeping in mind as well, Mondo is the same company that put out those 6-scale comic turtles that, you remember, had a lot of comic tie-in accessories. Not to mention, they're the same company as well that's churning out those awesome-looking Masters of the Universe 6-scale figures, some of which we've already had a look at on this channel. I do like that this Catwoman, like all the other things that Mondo has put out, comes with a lot of accessories. Not specifically episode-related accessories, but she comes with the accessories you would expect a figure like this to come included with. She comes with 3 alternate head portraits, 4 technically if you count the Mondo exclusive that we had a look at in this review, that comes included with, of course, the Selina Kyle portrait. And I do like the look of that portrait, although I'm still probably going to settle my display, at least, of her with one of the 3 head portraits with her wearing the mask, just because it looks a little bit more traditional Catwoman to me. But I do like the idea that the Mondo exclusive gave you the Selina Kyle portrait, not to mention a relaxed, and I gotta say that cat is relaxed, Isis that's sitting by her feet as well. What do you guys think of this figure? Let me know down below in the comments section. And again, a big thank you to Mondo, who provided the sample of the Selina Kyle Catwoman from the Batman animated series that we could have a look at in this review. If you guys want to go back and have a look at the reviews that I've done already for Mondo, and that includes the Turtles, that includes the Batman animated series, and that also includes the stellar Masters of the Universe, I have a playlist just for Mondo. Feel free to check that out. And also, if you're new to the channel and you're liking the content you're seeing, consider also the idea of hitting that subscribe button down below. You can turn on that friendly bell notification just to tell you the FYI on when new videos are popping up. I can also, in addition to that, throw in a friendly FYI that Monday to Friday, sometimes we do it on the weekends too, but Monday to Friday, 12 p.m. and 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is when you'll always find videos popping up on this channel. There's going to be a whole ton of stuff coming your way, as well as some additional Mondo reviews. So keep your peepers peeled to this channel and stay tuned Monday to Friday, 12 p.m. and 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.